What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA Show with me, Huzaifa, and your boy, Justin Guitar Hero James. We are back at it with the full duo. I know on Monday you guys were missing Justin for the solo show, but now Justin is back. You were just in Alaska, right?
Yeah, I've been traveling so much lately, and everyone's like, "Oh, poor Justin traveling so much." But it's exhausting, man. I want to plant my roots and just chill for a couple weeks. I was in Spain for 2 weeks. I was in Alaska for 10 days. I go to Montana next weekend with you. I go to Michigan the following weekend after that. I go back to Alaska the following weekend after that. Man, I'm ready to just chill for a while.
All right, so between your time in Spain, and by the way, BKFC is in Marbella in Spain. I think right now for the weekend, there's an event down there. But between the two, I mean, they must have been such different experiences, but what was the cooler one for you?
They're just totally different. Spain was a wrestling trip, man. I was out there training in the heat and the humidity. I got to party a little bit, so it was a good time. And then Alaska was a great environment, but it was a family vacation. So, a lot of sightseeing and the tourist shit. I enjoyed both of them, with the unfortunate events that have been, happening in my life as of late. It's good to get out with the family and just spend some quality time together. So I really appreciated both of them.
Amazing. Okay, well, welcome back. And we got some really interesting stuff. Even though we don't have a UFC event this weekend, we do have a huge one, massive one in Manchester next weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of fights on that card. Some of the fights, I mean, I'm actually out of control excited for this card, and especially the co-main and the main, but even there's some other great fights on that card as well. But we got something big this weekend that we're going to start off with, all right? And we're going to start off with our final analysis for this boxing match. Obviously we're not huge boxing fans, but when it crosses over to MMA fighters going into boxing, we're obviously on those fights and paying attention. And this is a phenomenal one. We got Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. We got somebody who has now been super successful in BKFC, a thriving sport, a growing sport. We just had an amazing presser during this week with Conor McGregor promoting the BKFC event in Marbella. Conor McGregor just had his birthday, by the way. We're going to play some clips from that interview as well as we're going to talk about the future of Conor McGregor. But this is an incredible fight. We've talked about it a bit in terms of who we think is going to win and why. So before we dive into this, I just want to play a little bit from the presser on earlier this week. I think it was on Thursday or Wednesday. So we're going to play a quick clip and then we're going to talk about it. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, wrong. Where is it? Uh-oh. Hold on one second. Why is this not popping up? Jake Paul. Sorry, give me 2 seconds, guys. Just trying to get the right window. Here we go. Found it. Boom. All right, let's check it out.
Conor McGregor, who's a owner now of BKFC, said that Mike is fighting a little dweeb on Saturday. I'm wondering if you saw that clip and if you have a response to what Conor had to say.
Well, first of all, he's big up in the BKFC, but you're going to see what I'm going to do to their best fighter on Saturday night. I'm going to embarrass their whole entire league. Once I knock out Mike Perry, Conor McGregor, let's run it. But you won't do it because you know what's going to happen. You saw what I did to Nate Diaz, who you went toe-to-toe with. So Conor McGregor, lay off the cocaine, get in the gym, and start winning fights, and then maybe we could have a conversation.
Round. I'm gonna give you hell in the first and the second round. Just wait and watch. And you're gonna get tired. You're gonna be grasping for air. I made a new word, grasping. You're gonna be grasping for air, but I'm gonna be breathing in your ear, Jake, making them noises from the titty part.
Let's make a bet. All right, so then Jake does his typical thing. He tries to bait Mike Perry into making a bet. Mike Perry basically no sells him. Mike Perry has been amazing in the back and forth, by the way. Such a good partner in terms of the banter and going back and forth. But we come back to the main question. And the question, which is intriguing and why I think a lot of people are going to buy the fight. I hope the pay-per-view numbers do well. We'll see if that's the case. I know a lot of the folks that are fans of Jake Paul seem to be streaming these fights illegally. But we come back to the question of who we think is going to be victorious. I think we both kind of lean towards Jake Paul, but a lot of people have been talking about Mike Perry this week in terms of the toughness, the mental toughness, the physical toughness, the fact that he, quote unquote, likes to be hit in the face. Where are we standing? Do you still feel the same way? And if so, or if not, why? Give us your thoughts.
Here, I like Mike Perry so much, man. And, Jake Paul's really grown on me this year. I didn't like him at first. He fought Ben Askren. But after he beat Tyron Woodley, I started to gain respect for him. Here's the thing. Here's why I don't think Mike can beat him. Mike is going to be tougher. I think Mike is going to hit harder, but man, we just can't get over the size difference. Jake
Yes.
Paul's preparing for a heavyweight matchup against Mike Tyson. He's put on that extra weight. He's put on that extra muscle. I just think he's just going to be too big. And you know, this is a common thing with Jake Paul right now. It's calling out little fighters, smaller fighters. I mean, Ben Askren, 170, Tyron Woodley, 170, Conor McGregor, you know, 155, 145, 170-ish. Mike Perry, 170, like, dude, I mean, it's I mean, he's fighting guys that I think Anderson Silva 185. Anderson Silva's, but again, he's preparing for heavyweight. It's just tough. Just tough for me to get behind somebody that keeps calling. That's just like me calling out bantamweights. You know, be like, all right, I want to, you know, like I just think that I'd have such a size and strength advantage that it'd be tough. It'd be tough to lose to some of these. I'm not saying that I beat every single one, but I mean just the size advantage and the size discrepancy. And Jake's tough. He can fight. He can box. Like people forget that this guy can box. His whole life has become boxing, man. He doesn't have to worry about his bills. He has the best coaches. He has the best nutrition. He has the best steroids. Like he has no seriously. Like this guy's on juice. I mean, of course he's on juice. You look at him, you can just look at somebody a lot of times and tell he's definitely on juice, and I'm fine with it. I think it should be legal across the board. I think everybody should be on. Mike Perry might be too, but you know Jake Paul is for sure, especially when he's trying to gain weight for Mike Tyson. And so he has the best doctors. He has the best nutritionists. He has the best coaching. He doesn't have to worry about bills. He can just dedicate his whole life to training. He doesn't have normal people problems, you know, or normal, like he can just focus on one thing at task. And you know, guys like Mike probably, hey, have to still worry about their bills a little bit. I know Mike has money, but he doesn't have Jake Paul money. Unfortunately, I think Jake Paul, and I want Mike to win, man. I'm going to put money on Mike because he's an underdog. I think I saw his odds at like plus 350. I'm going to put a little scratch on him. I want him to win. Man, Jake Paul is just so big, man. And, you know, even Mike, here's the thing. Mike is an incredible BKFC fighter. And by the way, your boy, Guitar Hero, might be going to BKFC here a lot sooner than later. I was talking to my manager last night. We have a potential matchup. This guy named this, and I'm not going to get off the subject. Maybe we can talk about it another time. But Lloyd Mix, you're a fucking pussy. You called me out. I accept. And now you have all these stipulations where it has to be. You have to get paid X amount of money. I have to make weight 155.0, bro. Like you called me out anyways. But again, the bigger guy, Jake Paul, sagging on Mike Perry, locking him up through the rounds, because once they lock up where Mike has success in BKFC, because again, we talk about the dirty boxing, and BKFC is different from regular boxing. Once these guys lock up where Mike does damage, you know, the referee's going to be pulling them apart. And I really think Jake has the advantage there for the rule set.
Now, if we talk, going back to the weight disadvantage, Eddie Hearn talked about that earlier this week on the MMA Hour. And when he figured out what the weight class was and that Jake is, you know, Jake had a hard time making weight. And I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins today, but he had to weigh in, I think, twice, and he had to go completely naked, and he made it 200 on the dot. But he's going to balloon back up. So he is going to probably have a 15. I think that people are saying like a 15 or 20 pound weight advantage, something along those lines.
I'd say minimum 20 pounds. I'm telling, when I weigh in at 155, when I fought at 170, I was 145. I was 170 to 175 the next day. When I fought at 155, I get up to 175. Like minimum, he's gonna have a 20-pound weight advantage.
Right. Yeah, because I don't even think Mike Perry's cutting weight at all. If anything,
Absolutely
I think,
not.
yeah, he said he was like eating whatever he wanted to and gaining weight. So when Eddie Hearn heard that, and maybe this is specific to boxing or a more pronounced difference in boxing, but when he heard the weight discrepancy, he was like, oh, this is a done deal. Mike Perry doesn't even have a chance. So do you feel like in boxing compared to MMA, or is this a general thing, but in boxing in particular, is that type of a weight discrepancy just give you a massive, massive advantage that not enough people are talking about?
I think in MMA it gives a huge advantage too, but you don't see welterweights fighting at 205. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't see welterweights going up to 205, and essentially that's what Mike Perry's doing. Why doesn't a welterweight go up to 205? Because of the weight discrepancy. Because he doesn't have to cut weight, and the guy is coming down from 230, 240. You know, when he stopped, how much did he weigh when Mike Tyson was out? When he was getting ready for Mike Tyson, he probably was 230, 240 pounds. And now he probably cut some of the juice, cut some of the creatine, you know, to get his weight down in order to make 200 pounds. But this guy had a hard time making weight. You know,
Right.
like that says something. That means that he's big, man. And it's nothing to go and lose 20 pounds. If my fight week in a perfect world, if I'm going to 155, I want to be 170 pounds on Monday. That's 15 pounds. And that's at lightweight. We're talking about 200 pounds. I bet Jake was at least 220 on Monday before the weigh-in. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure, yeah.
it's if not more. And if he had a hard weight cut, I've been as much as 185 pounds the week of my fight at 155. You know, as my and if nobody's watching the stream, you don't believe me. Ray Sefo, the president of World Series, PFL and World Series of Fighting, when I fought for him, like I stepped on the scale 185 the night before my weigh-in, and Ray lost. He's like, bro, what the fuck? I'm like, hey, don't worry, I'm a professional. And I showed up and I made 155 the next day. So I can just imagine what Jake Paul's doing right now.
Wow, that's crazy. All right. Well, I kind of am tending to obviously agree with you for a number of reasons, but I think the main one, which we have talked about, is they're different sports. And as you mentioned, the clinch work, the boxing that you can do in bare knuckle that doesn't translate, I think that's going to put Mike Perry at a big disadvantage. That being said, I think this is going to be a really, really fun fight. I don't think Jake Paul is going to be able to knock Mike Perry out. So I think it's going to go the distance. Ariel Helwani echoed those same sentiments, but I think it's going to be action-packed. I mean, you can't have a Mike Perry fight be boring. It's going to be absolutely so much fun. I wish it was free on Netflix. It's not. It's actually on DAZN, but I'm going to buy it and I'm going to watch it. So there we go. Big news for this weekend, and that's what we got to look forward to. All right, moving on to topic number 2. Conor McGregor, once again, is back. I know sometimes it gets annoying to keep going back to him, but he had a really good interview. I know until he disappears finally. Like I feel like I want to keep talking about him and what he's saying, because we're still on the edge of our seats. We still don't know what's happening, but he has been saying multiple times this week in interviews that the Michael Chandler fight's going to happen before 2024 ends. It's what he was saying before. It's what Ariel said on his show, that they're eyeing a December date for the Michael Chandler Conor McGregor fight, if indeed it still does happen.
December?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's what people are saying now. Because I think what it is, I don't know. I think there's a couple of different factors. I think that Dana White, even though Conor McGregor wants to fight basically in August or September, is what he's saying that he'll be ready for. I think that Dana White doesn't want to move things around too much because it's going to be too disruptive. And the next slot where it makes sense to create a UFC event around Conor is going to be December. And so for whatever reason, that's what they're talking about. Dana White's not being very committal in terms of being fairly non-committal when he discusses it, but that is what appears to be what people are saying is going to be happening. But let me show you this quick clip, because this is pretty interesting. So check this out.
What's your message to marquee fighters ending or approaching the end of their contract to come to BKFC?
You know, that's me. I am coming to the end of my contract. I have 2 fights left. This is a very, very exciting organization here. And for sure, you know, how could you not look to become a two-sport world champion, and something as wild as a bare knuckle fighting organization? So, you know, we've got the money too. We've got the dough. This is big payouts here also. You know, big pay, big shows, big news, and, you know, a coveted world title in a wild and dangerous game. For any real fighter out there, that's all you want to hear. You know, money, power, respect, and bare knuckle fighting championship has it all.
Dude, it's crazy, man. He hypes you up so much to get into that's amazing that you're getting into BKFC now that we got Conor in the mix, because he just gets you so excited about it. But let's talk about this. Dude, he's making it pretty clear. 2 fights and he's out, and he wants to dip. And he wants to get into BKFC. Now, he said this in other interviews too. What's the interest? We don't want to see fighters going from the UFC to the PFL. He's like, that's boring. That's lame. And I mean, like, I kind of get what he's saying. But then to go into a new sport, a new challenge, and that's probably also reinvigorating for fighters like you. Right now, you're trying your hand at something totally different. We talked about that, I think, in a couple shows ago, not being about the money that causes you to burn out, but maybe just the repetition, the same thing over and over, that same challenge that might get old. Now you have a brand new challenge, a new opportunity, a new exciting thing. Also, this seems to be the fastest growing combat sports organization in the world. Super cool. But anyways, I mean, what do you take from this? I feel like Conor is clearly teeing up a debut in BKFC.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, he's had 2 fights. He's had 2 fights on his contract for 5 years. You know what I mean? And something keeps happening to the fight after fight. And not to mention, BKFC is different from MMA. If he does fight in BKFC, as one of the owners of the company, he's going to serve himself up an easy matchup. He's not going to get in there against Mike Perry, Because if Conor loses in the UFC, which he has done a bunch of times now, and then transitions over to BKFC and loses again, like, where's his legacy? His whole legacy's tarnished. He has a better chance of losing in the BKFC, I think, than the UFC, and I don't think he'll risk it. Like, fuck. I mean, anybody, dude, you guys got to understand, like, BKFC, if you guys haven't watched, watch a BKFC fight. Watch a BKFC highlight. Like, this sport is gnarly. Guys are getting their orbitals shattered. They're getting their nose shattered. They're getting their hands broken. They're getting their teeth knocked out. They're getting brutally knocked out. Like, this is not boxing. This is not MMA. This is when we talked early on UFC, like day one UFC, people were like, oh, it's so barbaric. That's BKFC now. This is the modern barbaric form of combat. And I'll tell you what, I've been in the corner of some BKFC fighters. I've cornered a guy named a guy named David at the gym. I cornered Jordan Christensen, who just won last week in BKFC. This is a brutal sport. You get fucked up whether you win or lose. And I don't think Conor will have, and I don't want to say the guts, because the guy obviously has big balls, but I don't think he'd want to. I mean, what if he goes in there and gets knocked out in one punch against me? Like, seriously, like, if I hit Conor with a bare knuckle right on the chin and knocked all his teeth out, look at Luke Rockhold against Mike Perry. We're talking about a top contender in the UFC going against Mike Perry, a weight class below him. They meet somewhere in the middle, and he ends up quitting because I think he got his teeth knocked out.
Yeah,
like,
he did. Yeah.
He got his teeth knocked out, bro. And we're talking about Luke Rockhold, who's a fucking gangster. He's as tough as a coffin nail. Like, we're talking about Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendes, former UFC. I don't know if he was the champ, but former UFC top contender, fought Conor McGregor, has fought in BKFC at least once, if not twice. He said after, he's like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be doing this. This is a really barbaric combat sport. You know, it's like,
crazy.
I mean, Conor talks the talk, but he's been talking the talk for years. And you know what? I like Conor McGregor. I think he's for the fighters. I like watching him fight. I know even when he's losing, I still am going to tune into his fights. I know I've been back and forth, but you know what? He's a great guy for the sport, for MMA, for the UFC, for the BKFC. But man, why risk everything? If he goes in there and gets knocked out in the first round, which can happen against anybody. We don't have MMA gloves on, man. It's a different style of boxing. It's not boxing, and I don't think enough people realize that. BKFC is not boxing, and it's not because of the gloves. It's because of the fucking rules. Guys don't understand. Guys like Kai Stewart, and I go back to Kai Stewart because I've watched this kid up on the MMA scene. I've watched this kid in the BKFC scene, and I was like, man, his boxing isn't that good. Why does he have so much success? Because he uses his wrestling in BKFC. He uses his clinch work in the BKFC to have success. And that's why world champion boxers transition to BKFC and they're getting fucked up. You know, like Riley Pellegrino against Jordan Christensen. Every time they'd lock up, Riley would throw his hands in the air, waiting for the referee to box him up. And then Jordan would break off, bang, bang, bang. It's like, you have to understand, BKFC is bare knuckle fighting. It's not bare knuckle boxing, because boxing, right, once you guys clinch in boxing, for the most part, you can't do rabbit punches. And once you go over under position in boxing, the referee steps in and breaks you up. And bare knuckle, he's going to give you a little bit of chance to work there. And people don't understand that. And I don't think Conor McGregor understands that either yet, until he does. And what I mean by that, until someone clinches him up in a wrestling game and beats him up in a tight clinch like that. Guys, watch Lorenzo Hunt, man. Watch Kai Stewart. Watch Mike Perry, man. It's different. It's different. And also in boxing, if I get an underhook in boxing and I have a big 12-ounce glove on or a 10-ounce glove on, it's harder for me to pull my arm out of your armpit. These guys don't have fucking gloves. This is just a hand. Just pull it right out. Bang. They can start punching again. And that's the difference with boxing to MMA and BKFC. That's why I'm excited about this sport. That's why I'm thinking about, I'm not thinking about it. I am going to go. I am going to go for a world championship in BKFC because I think my wrestling and my dirty boxing translates more. Why? And then people are like, well, why don't you dirty box in MMA? Because dirty boxing and MMA, I can get hit with foot stomps. I can get hit with knees. I can get broke through. I can get hit with elbows. In the BKFC, I just got to worry about punches and tying their arms up. My style of fighting translates better for BKFC, almost better than it does in MMA.
No way. This is so dope. Okay, I'm excited. I cannot wait to see this. And what a G for doing it, because it's terrifying to me. But real quick, just heading back to Conor, how do you think if he trains properly and he gets accustomed and acclimated to that new style where you are using some grappling, this and that, does he, from the outside looking in, does it look like his skills could translate well and he could be a real force to be reckoned with in BKFC?
Absolutely, man. He's a great fight. He's a great fighter in general. You know, he's a much above average. People don't give him enough credit in boxing. They're like, oh, well, he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's one of the greatest of all time. Some people say he's the greatest of all time. Oh, just because he lost to the greatest boxer of all time. The guy can box. The guy can fight.
Right.
And think about it. Being the owner, he can handpick his opponent. Ooh, I don't want to fight Justin. I want to fight Huzaifa. Huzaifa, hey, we're going to give you $1 million, $500,000 to fight Conor McGregor. If you turn that fight down, even in the position you're in, you and I are going to have some problems. You know what I mean? Like, he can call anybody he wants. Hey, we'll give you $500,000 to fight Conor McGregor. Can you imagine if I got a call, if I go in BKFC, I get 2 or 3 wins, and like, hey, we got a matchup for you. We're going to have you fight Conor McGregor for his debut. Obviously, they're setting me up to lose, but that's a huge opportunity for me or for anybody, for you, for anybody that's in the sport. Nobody's going to turn that fight down. I don't care where you are in your career because you're going to get a huge payday. You're going to get huge publicity, and it's going to be fun, man. And even if you go in there and get starched in the first round, then Conor's be like, oh, I demand a title shot. The thing with BKFC compared to MMA is guys don't last long in BKFC, all right? Most guys are out within 5 fights. They're done within 5 fights. People are like, older people are like, oh, well, Mike Perry's had more than that. It's like, okay, there's always anomalies. There's always, you know, there's always guys that are going to do more than the rest. But we're talking average. We're talking average. Guys fight 3 times. They break their hands. They break their face. They break their nose. And they're just like, this ain't really for me. You know, so people have to understand the longevity of this sport is shorter than it would be in MMA.
Got it. Well, oh my God, it's so exciting to just see what's possible. By the way, we got Tehran coming in saying, what's up, boys? What's up, Tehran? What's up, Western Mass Climber? And Celine, of course, gave us a hello early on. So what's up, Celine? I just got to say this as we end, okay? And, you know, I'm starting to get more into BKFC. I still want to learn a lot more about it. If you fight in it, holy smokes, that'd be incredible. But I do want to say that I think what Conor is saying, coming to BKFC and trying a new sport and seeing how we can do, man, it's exciting. It's a million times more exciting than Conor doing traditional boxing to me personally, and way more exciting to see him fight in any other organization. I think this is genius. I just hope it actually happens, that he can finish off his 2 fights, or maybe he extends his contract in the UFC. That would be exciting to me too. If he still comes back and has success, I'd be curious to see that. But man, as an alternative, if he does lose to Michael Chandler, let's say he beats Chandler and then fights Islam or something crazy, right? And he loses and he goes out, he has a great performance, and to see him come into a brand new sport, just the opportunity to see what he could do, dude, it's gonna be exciting. So I cannot wait for all of this. Tehran says he does think Conor's gonna fight Chandler in December. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I think that is what's in the cards. So very exciting, cool stuff on the horizon. All right, let's move it on. Now, this is something that I talked about on Monday, and I showed some clips on this. So, and I really want to get your thoughts on this whole saga between Anthony Smith.
I'm unfamiliar.
Okay. Well, that's all good. So perfect. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the clip, and I want to get your thoughts and opinion on this whole back and forth between TJ Dillashaw and Anthony Smith. So here we go.
Last week, TJ went on the Jackson podcast and had some harsh words for Smith. He said that he didn't understand why his nickname was Lionheart, because TJ says that Anthony gives up in fights.
So we think Anthony Smith has what it takes to be a light heavyweight world champion?
Never.
No.
Dude, I just don't. He's not good enough.
Tough to say.
Like he gives up. Like, have you
Lionheart?
I've watched the game.
Lionheart.
No, his name is Lionheart.
Lionheart. What is the nickname?
Would he give himself
that? Means to be with a lion.
Did he give himself that name or what?
Oh my God,
he gives up in there. Bro.
Wow.
Okay, the second round, he doesn't even try to stand up. Roman's on his back. He doesn't even try to stand up.
He took the fight on a week's notice.
I'm fighting until I die, dog.
Anthony Smith responded to TJ on the most recent.
Okay, so first of all, just to preface that, obviously that's the Jackson podcast, which we love. It's such a great show. And TJ is TJ. He's done that in many interviews. He will speak his mind. He's not afraid. If it was a non-fighter saying that, I would say it's disrespectful. Me personally, I'm like, well, fighters can talk like that about other fighters, in my opinion, because they're in the mix. I don't know. But anyways, let me play the rest of this, and then I want to get your thoughts, Justin.
Recent episode of the Believe You Me podcast, Smith says the comments did upset him and found TJ to be disrespectful. He brings up how TJ popped for EPO.
If he doesn't believe that I'll ever be champion, that's totally fine. That's 100% fine. That's his opinion, and he has a right to have it. And that's what you do on podcasts. I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
That part doesn't bother me at all. It was the talking about he must have given himself that nickname, and that I'm a quitter, and then I give up, and the very personal disrespect part of it. Like I say a lot of things about people's games, but I don't think I'm disrespectful to anyone personally. Long story short, I don't know what his problem with me is. So I'll preface this with, I know what everyone's going to say. TJ Dillashaw is more successful. TJ Dillashaw has made more money than me. TJ Dillashaw, like all those, I agree. But I don't know why I allowed it to upset me so much. Like why I let someone like TJ Dillashaw upset me so much. I mean, that dude's like anybody who's been accused of cheating their entire career and been caught taking performance-enhancing drugs and been a juice head his entire career and is like not in the testing pool, so we all know exactly what he's doing. I don't know why I would take the opinion of him to heart. So I don't know why I let it piss me off so bad, but it did. The Rampage thing kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I've been such a big, like, Rampage is my favorite fighter and was since I was a teenager.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then he talks about, he's basically saying, hey, it was more of a disappointment to hear Rampage kind of going along with it, I guess, to whatever extent. Okay, let me turn it over to you because I've been wanting to know your thoughts on this.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say something else. Yeah,
No,
man. So here's the thing. Yeah. And Anthony is, man, I just love him on the mic. I maybe it's something about his voice. He has like a calming voice. I love listening to him talk, and he's so intelligent when he talks. And you know what? He's like, when I'm listening to it, like, listen to TJ say that, oh, he can't be the champion. Okay, that's fine. I mean, and everything Anthony said exactly, I agree with. Everybody has an opinion. You know what I mean? People have opinions of me. Trust me, I get it all the time. And for Anthony to be like, hey, man, that's his opinion, and that's okay. But to credit his heart, and he's like, I don't know why it upset me so bad. I'm gonna tell you, Anthony, why it upset you so bad, because you have put your life on the line. You have put your whole life behind the sport of MMA, and somebody's basically coming out questioning your integrity, questioning your heart, questioning your nickname. Like when you put your whole, and again, the reason I can say this is because this is why, because I've had a lot of late nights where I'm thinking like, why am I letting these guys that have done nothing bother me so bad? And you can translate that in anything. Translate it into scholar learning for you. Like, can you imagine me who knows nothing about math hardly? Hey, Huzaifa, dude, your math channel is just terrible. Like, why do you even do it? Like, it doesn't even make sense. You'd be like, who the hell are you? Like, and then you would initially have that feeling. Now imagine, it happening over and over and over. You've put your whole life into that. And Anthony's put his whole life into fighting, and he's trying to fight the best fighters in the world. And for him to say that, oh, he quit, man, he didn't quit, dude. It's just sometimes you're in a position that it just doesn't work out, man. And that really bums me out. I don't know TJ personally. I've only met him a handful of times. But for him to come out and talk about another high-level fighter, especially because he's not fighting at the highest level, man, like, I always say it, like, even if I'm about to say something negative about somebody, I try to start it off with something positive. Hey, man, like, Anthony Smith is a dog. He's been around for a long time. I don't think he's going to be the UFC champion, but I respect him, man. He keeps getting in there. He keeps fighting the best in the world. But to say he doesn't have a heart, come on, bro. Like, look at everything he's done in his career. He fought John Jones with a blown out knee, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
I know that he could have won that John Jones fight if he would have taken the disqualification, but I didn't know that his knee was blown out. I'm going to double check that.
It might have been somebody. It might have been a different fight. But there was like, dude, like, he could have took the easy way out and beat John Jones, but he didn't. This guy, man, I don't like it when fighters talk about other fighters' heart. You know what I mean? Now, if it's there, now there are heart issues. Like, there's a guy that I used to train with. His name's Riley Pellegrino, and he's a very heavy hitter. He's in the BKFC right now. If you take Riley into the third round, you win. The fight's over. He'll usually find a way to quit. Usually, I cornered him twice, both ways. Going into the second round, he's like, my eyeball. He holds his eye. He's like, my eyeball popped out of the socket. My eyeball popped out of the socket. Bro, come on. Barely got poked in that. He was gassed. And then the second time I cornered him, he got kneed in the chest. He pushes the guy away. He turns to me. He's like, my chest is broken. My chest is broken. I can't continue. It's like, bro, come on, man. And then his last fight, he just fought last weekend against my teammate, Jordan. We're not teammates anymore, but me and Jordan are. And he drops Jordan in the first round. Jordan hits him a couple times in the second round. In between rounds, he's like, I can't see. I can't see. It's like, that is no heart. That kid has no heart. Anthony Smith, that motherfucker has heart. And TJ Dillashaw needs to respect him.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And maybe even TJ is looking back in retrospect on his words and being like, okay, I kind of laid that out a little bit too harshly, and that's not exactly what I was trying to say. I don't know. And maybe everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? He thinks that Anthony Smith doesn't have a shot at winning the belt. I know a lot of other folks that talk about Anthony Smith that disagree. So it is what it is. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting back and forth between two fighters that I want to share for you. And that's a really good perspective. All right, let's move it along to topic number 4. This is for UFC 304, right? I'm saying the right UFC number, I think, in Manchester, which is next weekend, a week from tomorrow. This fight is going to be amazing. And for all the UK fans, I know they're upset about the time. They're playing it so that it airs at normal time for US people. So still normal time, 7 p.m. PST is when it's going to air, which is nice for us, sucks for them, but it is what it is. But we just had an interesting interview. Paddy Pimblett went on the MMA Guru's channel and did an interview, which I actually thought was a pretty cool interview. But I want to remember Paddy Pimblett before all this drama with Jared Gordon and Ariel Helwani went down. And just get people excited for this fight, because do you remember how much Paddy was beloved before he kind of went on that tirade against Ariel? A lot of people turned on him. Then he said, oh, I should be fight of the night. And people were like, what? That was not a great fight, right? And then I think in retrospect, he's come back and said, I shouldn't have said all that. But anyways, Paddy, people were so behind him. So many people turned on him, gave him so much hate. He actually went through a lot of depression. He said there was really dark times. I think he said it was suicidal, but he had some really rough times dealing with all the basically negativity that he was getting, which is a shame. But I think he's on a comeback. He's on a resurgence. And if he wins this fight, he can turn people back around. And that's exciting, because Paddy, at the end of the day, whatever you want to say, he's an exciting fighter. He's got a great personality, and I want to see him win. I want to see him do his thing. But okay, let me play you this quick little tidbit from the MMA Guru interview, and then I want to get your thoughts. All right, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, Gordon did well in that fight, though, if you want to talk technically here, because
he's talking about Jared Gordon fighting Bobby Green. So they're starting it off by talking about the Jared Gordon Bobby Green fight, and then we're going to lead into Paddy talking about how he's going to deal with Bobby Green as a result.
He backed up, right? He made Bobby Green go first, whereas Bobby's normally a counter striker. He likes to fade back 1-2 on the counter, whereas Gordon made him come forward, and it kind of showed some weaknesses in the striking when he had to go first, right? Is that a similar plan you might be going for?
We'll see, lad. We'll see. You know what I mean? I can't give nothing away, but people think that I'm just going to come out and shoot in straight away. You know what I mean? People think that I'm just going to grapple immediately, where I believe in my striking. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not the same version of Tony Ferguson from fucking 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I know that, but I still dropped him. Know what I mean? Right. And the only person to drop him, I think, since, who was it? Michael Chandler, when he knocked him out. Even in his 7-fight losing streak, no one's dropped him apart from me and Michael Chandler. Mm-hmm. Bobby got dropped by old Tony.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Bobby got dropped by him in the first round.
So Bobby's did Chandler.
Yeah, you're right.
Not Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, dude.
Even Gagey, lad, I know it was before his losing streak, but Gagey got it with that uppercut and got dropped. You know what I mean? And like that's another fight, lad. I always see comments like he couldn't even finish old Tony, and it's like, lad, that Tony's known for his resilience. He's hard to finish. Like,
okay, let me stop it here. So, and I think Paddy's making a lot of good points. He gets really unfairly criticized for anything he does. He barely beats Jared Gordon, or well, arguably lost to him, right? And everybody's like, Paddy's garbage, but they're like, Jared Gordon's actually pretty good. Well, wait a minute. They had a close fight. If you're saying Jared Gordon's really good, but Paddy sucks, what are you talking about? And then again, people are giving him crap for, I mean, he beat Tony Ferguson. Whatever you want to say, he's on the decline, this and that, but I mean, he's still Tony Ferguson, still a tough fight. So anyways, turn it over to you, Justin. First of all, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Are you favoring Paddy Pimblett, or are you favoring Bobby Green?
Here's the thing, man. Paddy's up and coming. He's training hard. He's still young. Bobby he has age against him right now, man. He's on the downfall. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think this is a great matchup for Paddy. I love Bobby Green, man. He's fought, one of my best friends, Darren Cruikshank, back in King of the Cage. They fought for the King of the Cage title like 10 or 15 years ago. I've always loved his career. He has an incredible career. He's awesome on the mic. What's exciting about this fight for me is the presser. Man, Bobby Green, I have fought on the same card as Bobby Green. He is an animal. And so, like I think I've mentioned before, like, in the UFC, like after all the fighters weigh in, Dana White or Sean Shelby takes you into the back room and he gives you like a pep talk and like tells you what's on the line and this and that. Bobby Green, man, he is a comedian. He's always back there interrupting Dana White, yelling absurdities. Like I can't even describe it. You'll be sitting there and you just hear Bobby yell something random that's not even in relation to what Dana's talking about, and Dana look up and kind of smirk and be like, that's just fucking Bobby. And his energy, his charisma, his story is incredible. But he does have age going against him now. And I don't know why the UFC's mad. I mean, I know they want to build Paddy, especially for the UK fans. I think he has a lot of promise. But this is his second fight in a row when we're talking about guys that are falling off. He got Tony Ferguson, who's on that big downswing. Now he's going against Bobby Green, who I wouldn't say is on a downswing, but he has age against him, man. And he has experience. He has a ton of experience, which are miles. He has a bunch of miles. I'd really like to see Paddy go against, another up-and-coming guy to really test himself. When I say up-and-coming, I don't mean a guy that's 2-0 in the UFC, like a guy that's, 3-1, 4 or 5-1 in the UFC that has the same clout he does. I really would like Bobby to win, but I've grown on Paddy, man. The guy can fight. Regardless of how you feel about him, the guy's entertaining and the guy can fight. So, I wish Paddy the best. I wish Bobby the best. For nostalgia purposes, I want Bobby Green to win because I've known him for so long. I've been following his career for over 15 years. And, just for the nostalgia purposes, I want Bobby to win. But I won't be disappointed if Paddy wins.
I love Bobby Green, and I also agree that he's very entertaining and he's entertaining at the presser, but he's also entertaining as a fighter, which is phenomenal. But I gotta say, I'd love to see Paddy get the win. I think it'd be incredible for his career. And guess what? Let me show you the rankings. Right, where's King Green? He's in the top 15. So if Paddy can beat Bobby Green or King Green, dude, he's going to be in the top 15. That's huge. A lot of people were saying he would never make the top 15 or top 10 or whatnot. So that'd be very exciting. And then look at we got some really great potential matchups. I'd love to see, dude, imagine Paddy, what's it called? Dan Hooker's got a fight in August, I think, on the Perth card. Imagine Paddy Pimblett versus Dan Hooker. That'd be a fun matchup. That'd be great. Smack talk, incredible fight. Jalen Turner might be a tough matchup. He's talking about fighting Renato Moicano. That'd be an amazing matchup. I mean, there's some good matchups for Paddy Pimblett. I mean, who knows? Rafael Fiziev, maybe that would be a tough one. But
I personally think Bobby Green is the matchup for Paddy right now. He has the best chance of beating him. I don't think he can beat Dan Hooker yet. I don't think he can beat Mikado yet. I'm not saying he never will be able to, but the position he's in right now, I think Bobby Green's his best matchup.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, this is going to be fun. And let's remember, people, if you guys have turned on Paddy, remember how much energy at the beginning and how much people loved him before they were just like booing him mercilessly. Like, he's a fun guy. He's awesome. Great personality, different style. He's just different. He's dope for the sport. I want to see him win. And I hope people are getting behind him and getting excited for this fight because it's going to be a great fight, regardless of what people want to say. Okay. Now moving on to the final topic today, and then we're going to close it out. And we are talking about the main event. We're going to dive way more deeply into the UFC 304 main card next week. But let's talk about this main event a little bit. And I just wanted to throw it back to an old interview. This is from about a month ago of Belal talking about the fight. So we're going to play this. I know, Justin, you're not always the biggest fan of Belal, but let's play his thoughts on
I think you're about to show me why I'm not a big fan of him. I hate him on the mic. I hate him when he talks. I don't have anything personal against him. I just don't like listening to him talk.
Sure. And I totally get that. All right, let's just play this. And I want to hear your thoughts on his feeling of the matchup against Leon and if he's, just kind of off the mark or what you think. Here we go.
And those are the champions that you respect. Guys like Adesanya Volkanovski, who looked up the next challenger right away. And after the next fight, they had their other fight booked or they're set. And they always wanted to fight the next best guy. But Leon, he's a coward. His team, they're all afraid. And I think they're all afraid because they know he's not that good. And they know that I'm a terrible matchup for them. And they were trying to delay this as long as possible, even try to call out other people. And even with those three fighters that, supposedly got offered the fight, I think it was more so the UFC trying to hype up a guy that doesn't hype up himself, right? Nobody hears about Leon. Leon doesn't talk. He comes on a podcast once every 3 months and he whispers. Nobody can understand what he's saying. He looks stupid. He doesn't have confidence. He's awkward. He's weird. And I think I'm going to do everyone a favor on July 27th. After I beat him, we're going to be done. We don't have to hear about him no more. The UFC doesn't have to promote him no more because he's not going to be a champion. So then he'll be forced to do stuff himself.
Okay, So obviously you said a lot of things there. I guess is thinking that Leon's not that good. Anyways, let me get your thoughts.
I mean, the interview, that 15-second clip is why I hate Belal Muhammad. Like, he's an idiot. Oh, he's a coward? What? What? Leon Edwards is a coward? Are you kidding me? Who are, like, what? Oh, do the UFC a favor so we don't have to hear about this guy? Bro, everyone wants Leon to knock you out. So
Yeah, true.
nobody has to listen to you talk anymore. So nobody has to listen to you. And you're calling Leon Edwards a coward? Hey, Leon's an introvert. He's quiet. He's soft spoken. He doesn't run his mouth. I've never heard one fighter ever say a bad thing about the guy. Unless in the fight build, but and he's like, oh, he's quiet. You never hear him on podcast. Oh, because the guy's an introvert. He's a bad guy. Take one. Like, okay, shut the fuck up, man. Like, this is why I don't like him. The things he says are just ridiculous. This isn't even smack talk. Like, this isn't like, oh, it's like, oh, he's a coward, bro. Like, you can say a lot of things about Leon Edwards and call him a lot of things, but a coward isn't one of them. He is the defending UFC champion at one of the hardest weight classes in the UFC. Like, a coward, Belal, take a seat, man. Everyone wants you to get smashed so we can get this boring. And you're boring as fuck, bro. Like, you're gonna try to take Leon to decision and grind out a boring decision. You're not gonna knock him out. You're not going to outstrike him. You're going to put him up against the fence, and hopefully you can hold him there long enough to get a squeak by decision, man. That interview is the epitome of why I don't like Belal. Like, do I know him personally? No, he's probably a great guy, and he is a great fighter. But listen to the way he talks. He's just stupid. Like, oh, I'm going to do the UFC a favor. Oh, do a UFC the favor so one of the most boring fighters in the history of the division can be the champion? Like, wow, yeah, you're doing us all a favor. It's going to kill the division if he becomes the champion because nobody cares to watch him fight. He has interviews like that. His fights are boring. Like, as soon as his fight comes on, I go to the bathroom. I go play video games. I wait for that fight to be over. Hey, I'm sure he's a great guy and he's a great fighter, but he's beyond boring. And he says dumb, outlandish stuff like this. Like, the UFC gave this guy every opportunity. They put him in the commentary, or maybe not the commentary booth, but the fight analysis booth. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
don't know exactly. I don't know exactly. They gave him a shot there. They gave him a shot, but he sounded stupid, so they took him out. They're getting, like, he's on this podcast. Leon Edwards is like, what? Like that? Like, I can't even like, that doesn't even make sense to me. He's a coward, bro.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Sit down. I want Leon Edwards to knock this guy out, and I hope he never gets a title shot like that, because to call Leon Edwards a coward, he could call him, oh, he's not that good at grappling. Hey, I'm a better grappler. All right, sure, no problem. I can see that, sure. But a coward, bro, that is what I call a blanket statement, meaning that when you're a coward, that means you're a pussy, means you don't know how to fight, that you're running away. He is the complete opposite of a coward. If Belal wants to sit there and say my grappling and wrestling are better, okay, there's an argument there. But a coward, there's just no argument for, and he sounds ridiculous, and all he's doing is reiterating why I hate him.
Yeah, I think it seems like he's trying to hype the fight to some degree, but he's just missing the mark because he's saying things that just there's not real realistic connection to what he's saying and the reality of the situation. I think that's the problem. Like, he's trying and saying stuff to maybe incite things or make it more interesting, but it's just missing the mark. It is what it is. We got a quote here from Western Mass Climber. No one wants to hear Belal anymore.
Dude,
well,
me especially.
Yeah, so I guess I think you're not alone in these sentiments, and I guess we're going to see. Now, just real quick in terms of the matchup, I mean, do you favor Leon heavily in this matchup?
I don't. I favor Leon, but here's the thing. Belal is an expert at making fights boring. And this isn't a smack talk. There are game plans. I have been a part of game plans to where the goal is to make the fight boring. The goal is to slow the pace down, gas them out, fill their arms, fill their legs, fill their body up with lactic acid, slow them down, gas them, and then have your way with them. And that's Belal's game plan every time. And early in my career, I did that. I'd make boring fights. And then, my roommate, Darren Cruikshank, would criticize me. He's like, bro, you're winning fights. Like I was like 10-1 at one point, or 10-2 at one point as an amateur. And he's like, although you're winning, you're fighting, you're so boring that nobody's going to want to tune in. All you're doing is taking guys down, grinding them, and then rear naked choke them once they get tired. So that's when I really started focusing on my boxing and striking. But that's what Belal, he has become an expert at making fights slow and boring. And I know that sounds like it's not, I mean, that's an incredible, believe it or not, that's an incredible skill to have. To be able to take somebody that's so skilled and make them play your game and slow the whole pace of the fight down to make it boring, that is a skill. That is actually a fighting skill. But he's an expert at it. But those fighters don't belong to be the champion, man. You got to be exciting. There's a reason why the UFC's held off on this matchup for so long, because they know what he's going to try to do. His game plan is going to be to put Leon Edwards against the fence and hold him there for 5 rounds. And nobody wants to see that. Not me, not you, not anybody. Unfortunately, he's beat enough guys that where UFC can't turn him down anymore. But can you imagine as your champion, and every time there's a championship fight, okay, well, let's see if Belal can put him against the fence and hold him there. And that's what he's going to do, man. So I think it'd be really bad for the UFC for Belal to win. Now, if Belal comes out and knocks Leon Edwards out, I will go publicly right here on the air and I will say, hey, man, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Belal did everything that, but he's not going to. He never does. He does the same thing over and over, and he's an expert at it, and he's going to try to do the same thing against Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards needs to keep his back foot off the fence. I call it the warning track. Like when you're within 3 yards or 3 feet of the back, I call it the warning track. He needs to stay off the warning track. He needs to feint left, feint right, circle, 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 and pick him apart as Belal's coming forward.
All right. Amazing. There we have it. Love to see that. Leon Edwards hopefully execute that strategy effectively. Western Mass Climber loves Justin Rance. He said they're the best. And we're going to clip that out. That's a good one as well. All right, guys. That is it. Those are our 5 topics for today, for this Friday show. Now, if you guys are going to be looking for content specifically about this Jake Paul fight, and actually about Jake Paul in general, I got a banger of a video that I'm trying to release tonight. I'm still working on it. And it's about Jake Paul's entire trajectory. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is because I think people, like you mentioned, you have respect for Jake Paul. He has earned your respect, and you're a real fighter. He has earned a lot of people's respects who are real boxers and real fighters, because he's done something tremendous. And I think people have forgotten where he came from and how far he's come and what he's done. And it's truly remarkable and incredible. And this video is going to cover his entire rise to a combat sports athlete, which is insane to even call him a combat sports athlete. It's phenomenal. And I think people have forgotten that. So we're going to dive deep into that. And I'm going to talk about why I have so much respect for Jake Paul and why I think what he's doing is amazing. Western Mass Climber says, cool. Thanks, guys. All right. You are welcome. Thank you, Western Mass Climber, for joining our show. And thank you, everybody, for following along and being part of this community that is growing. And we are super excited about it. If you could give this video a like. Oh, thank you, Celine. If you could give this video a like, we'd really appreciate it. And if you are new to the show and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to click that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy. Okay, hold on. I want to show you the